It's all history time.
You have that nasal surgery, it changes the whole acoustics in there.
Mm-hmm. It fixed it.
I remember having to adjust afterwards because it wasn't quite the same, but I liked it better. Baby, here we are back where we started this whole thing.
Back at my
5 years ago.
Yeah, it's been God, has it been that long?
2021, yeah.
It's been a really long 5 years.
It's been crazy, but not that many episodes because of all this stuff that's happened in between each one. And if we sound different, it is because we are back where we started. Raven Sound Studios is currently under construction. Apparently, Kevin tells us we're going to have an even cooler recording space once it's all done. But until then, we are back doing old school with my crappy home microphone and laptop. And we're currently sitting in your bedroom.
Yep.
With the podcast dog sitting nearby.
Yeah. And if you hear faint whimpering in the background, it's the other two.
The other two dogs who are sad they can't be in here, but trust me, that's a bad idea.
Yeah, we would not be able to record.
So, do you remember all that time ago when we talked about a dude with a really huge head named Newt Gingrich?
Yes, ish.
Yeah, my former college professor, former Speaker of the House of Representatives. We talked about him on this very show approximately like 78 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's okay if you don't remember a whole lot from part one. Unlike our previous subjects, Newt is still very much alive and still very much running his mouth.
He doesn't know how to stop.
Yeah, we see him on Fox. He's a really good buddy with Sean Hannity.
Oh, yeah.
Has been ever since the days when Sean Hannity was a local talk radio host.
Gross.
To give listeners context, as of this recording, the United States is tangled up in a war with Iran, with important shipping lane known as the Strait of Hormuz currently shut down. And a lot of very big brains on the internet have decided to weigh in on this, how to get us out of this particular pickle.
Well, we shouldn't have gotten into this particular pickle.
Oh,
it was dumb.
That's why are we talking about that when we have a problem to solve here? There's been a lot of hilarious memes about all the ways you could go by land around this strait that are all very dumb and I don't understand how any of this works. But however, none of the ideas presented on the internet have been as jaw-droppingly dumb as the one presented by Professor Gingrich. So, over on X.com, the Everything app, on a tweet dated March 15th, 2026, Newt cited a Substack newsletter called China Talk as his source for this incredible idea. Quote, "Instead of fighting over a 21-mile bottleneck forever, we cut a new channel through friendly territory. A dozen thermonuclear detonations, and you've got a waterway wider than the Panama Canal, deeper than the Suez, and safe from Iranian attacks." Unquote.
Yeah, that seems dumb. That seems ultra dumb, Jimmy.
He has decided we can solve this shipping crisis by dropping a dozen nukes in the Middle East, on our allied countries, no less.
Yeah, they would just fucking love that.
Now, we could spend way too much time dissecting all the ways this is insanely stupid, but this should be self-evident to everyone listening that this is a bad and dumb idea. Now, the China Talk article Newt references is titled, "It's Time, an Open Letter to Secretary Hegseth." And it springs off a real proposal from decades ago called Project Plowshare, which was a real sort of like exploratory concept of using nukes to create a sea level canal through Colombia. We didn't do this because every subject matter expert made it clear it was a really fucking stupid idea.
Yeah, because that seems dumb as fuck. Are you kidding?
And so, if you get all the way down to the bottom of this article, the final paragraph of it reads thusly, quote, "Your boss is a builder. Trump doesn't want to play nice with a coalition of countries he hates to patrol the Strait of Hormuz. He wants to cut a ribbon and watch the Chiron on Fox. Trump Canal opens, largest in human history. Mr. Secretary, give him that Chiron and you win the war and you keep your job. We can even tariff the tankers." Unquote.
That's the...
Now, hold on, before you explode. Just in case you didn't catch the absurdist tone of the article, it also includes a disclaimer at the very, very end. Quote, "The views expressed above do not necessarily represent those of anyone with brain cells." Unquote. So yes, it's true. My one-time college history professor, former Speaker of the House, once second in line to become President of the United States and could hypothetically have had control of the nuclear codes, made a serious proposal about nuking the Middle East based on a satire article written by an internet troll.
Oh my god.
That's the most boomer
this is
shit.
The fucking and he wrote it to Pete Hegseth. We have the dumbest people alive in charge of the most powerful nation on earth. It's fucking terrible.
Thank God, at least Newt's hands are far away from power at this point. He's just posting stuff on Twitter.
That's okay. I don't think Pete Hegseth is keeping his job anyway.
Yeah, we shall see.
He's already being set up to be under a bus.
Yeah, we can't veer off topic and get away from that'd be a long talk about Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, but instead we're focusing on the idiot who decided we should nuke the Middle East to create a new canal. My former teacher Newt, who we've left alone for months. We've had a lot going on, but he's left us no choice now but to hurt him a little bit more. So we've come out of our semi-retirement to show everybody what a weird little freak he's always been. So for listeners, that means we're back to the saga of Professor Newt Part 2, The Gingrich Strikes Back.
Yeah. Oh, boy. Are we going to learn about how Newt fucking is terrible and how he destroyed democracy?
Indeed. Cool. So welcome to Chainsaw History, everybody. That was a long intro going in. This is the podcast in which we look at American history with the same reverence and respect Afro Man showed the Ohio Sheriff's deputies who raided his house.
Fuck the police.
Indeed. I'm your host, Jamie Chambers, and this is my sister, Bambi.
Hello.
We are a comedy podcast, everybody. I'm not a historian, but I've watched a bunch of Ken Burns documentaries over the years, so that'll have to do.
Yeah, I'm here for the ride, y'all.
If you go to chainsawhistory.com, you can look at ways to support the show, find some of our extra content, like our Value Of series, where Bambi reads me 80s children's biographies, and No Time for Love, Dr. Jones, where we explore the fictional life of Indiana Jones. And just so everybody knows, here's a little warning up top. There is zero way to avoid the discussion of politics in this episode. So if you want your history, if you want your history free of modern American political drama and bullshit, I don't blame you, but the story of Newt Gingrich is just not for you, because he, like Baby says, he kind of is one of the reasons we are where we are, and that's why he's worth talking about, not just because I knew him briefly.
Yeah, I mean, on top of being just ultra shitty, he's very, very relevant, especially to this one moment in
Even
time.
if he's also powerless and impotent at this point and pathetic, which is funny, and we'll talk about that in part 3. But as usual, we have a ton of sources. The two most important ones for this episode are Burning Down the House, Newt Gingrich, The Fall of a Speaker, and Rise of the New Republican Party by Julian E. Zelizer. And the other main source is a PBS Frontline documentary all the way back from 1996 called The Long March of Newt Gingrich, which you can still find freely available on pbs.org. Plus, I will cite a bunch of newspaper articles and other stuff as we go along. So, in a very brief recap of last episode, last time we covered how Newt's biological father was an aggressive drunk, and his stepfather that he grew up with was a terrifying military disciplinarian. And the little guy lived in a room filled with snakes and dreamed of owning his own zoo one day.
If only he could have just had a zoo.
That's in that alternate timeline where Hitler became a happy painter. Newt got to run a zoo. Well, as a teenager, he visited a World War I battlefield, Verdun, and dreamed of political power, thinking I should be the one to send men to die.
Yeah, that's... Ugh.
Here in Georgia, Newt started fooling around with his high school geometry teacher, who he married and fathered 2 children with after his first year in college.
You know, she gets what she gets.
Unfortunately, this does not go well for her, as you will see in this episode. Then, the family moved to New Orleans for Newt to attend grad school for his career plan to be a college history professor. And while on campus, he helped organize a protest movement on behalf of nudity. Oh, and his college dissertation kind of made light of Belgian atrocities during their colonization of the Congo. And that's where we kind of ended, was this shitty dissertation that he finally became a college professor after basically saying, isn't it great that white people civilized all the black people of the Congo?
Good God, he's terrible.
Yep.
But if only he would have stayed a college professor and just been shitty.
As you'll see, he does not stay a college professor for
No,
long.
he doesn't.
Because that was never really his long-term plan, even at this stage in his life. So this is where we pick back up with Reverend Dr. Newton Leroy McPherson Gingrich. And except for the Reverend part, all of those things are his actual name. Finally out of college and ready to make a name for himself in the wide world. And boy, howdy does he. You ready for this?
Oh, God. Let's do it.
All right. So let's get back. We're in the early 1970s. Newt was a fan of the Vietnam War and military action in general. Stopping communism, of course, as a conservative warrior is a huge priority. But he'd use his own marriage and student status to obtain deferments, which was way less humiliating than being outright rejected for being half blind with flat feet. Because he would have never had to serve. He was physically not great. But with his education complete, Newt was ready to build his career that was a lot less about teaching and a lot more about politics. This is why he chose his first teaching position as a college history professor based on how he felt about Georgia's 6th Congressional District more than the details of the college or the job. So he landed at West Georgia College in September 1970. Again, because this was a vulnerable district that he felt he might be able to win.
Con? Yeah.
His friend and biographer Mel Steele had this to say.
Ever since I've known Newt, he has felt that he would have an impact on history, that he was a historical person. When he was a teacher here at West Georgia, he viewed himself as a historical person in his young years. Talk about the young Churchill. You study that to try to get an idea who this guy is later on and so forth.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's historical, but
Sure.
so is Hitler.
Right, but when you literally are in your 20s, you're still young and you're starting your career and you're like, I am going to make history. That is narcissistic.
Yeah, it's complete narcissism. It's awful.
And then when you see how he treats other people over time, he's kind of the malignant narcissist, the toxic kind. He's, spoiler alert, everybody, Newt's not a good person. So yeah, definitely a healthy way of looking at yourself very at the beginning of your career. But it does call back to his ambitions when his stepdad took him to the European battlefields of World War I. He's like, ooh, I want to be the guy sitting back in Washington, sending these guys to die in these killing fields.
That's not normal, Jamie. That's not usually people feel some kind of sense. Some people, most people, I would think, would at least feel a sense of awe, not I need to be the guy. You can listen to
so many accounts of people who visit the battlefields of like Verdun and the Somme and just be in that space where so many died, and there's all these visuals of it.
It should be solemn. It should be a little sad.
Newt was just like, no, this could be me, not out here. God, no. I want to be back there. I want to be back there signing pieces of paper that make this shit happen. But anyway, despite his long-term goals, Newt's job was teaching history to college students, which of course is how I know him best. A friend and former student named Lee Howell gave his own grade to Newt as a teacher.
He's a very good teacher. Very stimulating. That's what you want a teacher to be, is make you think. And he did make you think. If you take his lectures, or nowadays, if you take his political speeches, and put them down in black and white, you realize they're pretty shallow, and you realize you can shoot holes through them. And he's not the most logical person, but when he's speaking, he's impressive.
God,
that's his friend, or at least former friend at this point. But yeah, it's like, and I will tell you this, I 100% had this exact same thing with Newt, because when he's talking, he really does have this certain charisma, and he has just enough of this backing, because he does cite things, because he reads stuff, and he does it, but at the same time he strings together all this stuff, and it's like, once you think about it hard, it falls apart. It's the kind of thing that impresses young men like I was at the time, but then once you actually develop critical thinking skills and you're not just bowled over by his large ego and his presence, it's like, oh yeah, this guy's kind of full of shit.
Yeah, well, I can name a particular vice president that we have currently, that he makes the dumbest shit sound somewhat intelligible.
Yeah, but the sad thing is Newt had more dignity and respect than our current vice president.
Well, I mean, he has no riz. he doesn't have the juice.
And Newt had enough riz to marry his high school math teacher.
Which, gross.
I mean, for whatever you got to say about that. It was during this period where Newt got a nickname used behind his back at college, Mr. Truth, because Professor Gingrich bulldozed everyone else with what his version of the truth might be. And he couldn't understand why his brilliance didn't fast-track his academic career, even though he'd never bothered to publish his dissertation and did not want to build up his credentials over time. It's like, don't you know who I am? Nobody, motherfucker. You're a junior professor at a college. So after 1 year on the job, he applied to be president of the college. And
my God.
Was stunned when the administration instantly rejected him. Then the next year, he applied to be the chair of the history department and was once again shocked when the dean didn't pick him for the job. Like 2 years in, he wants to be president and or chair of the history department.
No, that's not how hierarchy works.
Yeah, it's definitely not how academia and that career track, which is a slow thing, which again, too, if you want to do something, you actually have to publish and, do stuff besides just giving lectures. So after a few years of teaching and not becoming emperor of West Georgia College, the professor decided his moment had arrived. The 6th Congressional District was reapportioned in 1971 to be a little less gerrymandered, and so it changed from a purely rural district to one that included some suburban and even a little bit of the urban areas in Fulton County. Newt sensed that it was time to break the Democratic Party's hold. From the book, Burning Down the House, quote, voters in the reorganized 6th District were unified by an overall hostility to high taxation, by a business-friendly posture, and by an eagerness to reject the stereotypes of old-line Southern racism, even while racial inequality remained deeply embedded in the residential and educational character of its neighborhoods, unquote. Newt's target was a stereotypical Dixiecrat, an old World War II veteran named John Flint, who'd stood firmly against LBJ's civil rights legislation. So this is back the George Wallace era racist Democrats in the South.
Yep.
That all eventually flipped and became Republicans. But this is still in the transitional period because we're in 1971. As we would continue to do throughout his political career, Newt positioned himself as an outsider, taking on the establishment, trying to make a tent that could include anyone sick of the status quo and ready for new leadership and ideas. In one press conference, Newt said the following, quote, the second thing I think I do as a congressman, I think is demand a real sense of ethical fairness in Congress. I mean, the place is sufficiently corrupt right now that there's no reason for anyone back home to have any trust in their congressman, unquote. No shit, Newt.
Oh, God. Okay. Yeah.
Do you feel great about Congress right now?
No, but...
He certainly didn't help. The professor drew inspiration from 2 jarringly different American political figures. Again, from Burning Down the House. Quote, Richard Nixon wasn't wedded to any particular issues as much as he was concerned with winning elections. Like Newt's other hero, Teddy Roosevelt, Nixon struck him as a role model for his own generation of Republicans, a shrewd, pragmatic strategist who was attempting to build a durable governing Republican majority with sizable blue-collar support. Unquote. So yes, Richard Nixon and Teddy Roosevelt are Newt's 2 guiding stars of presidents at this point. And Nixon is president at this moment.
You should have leaned more towards Teddy Roosevelt and less towards Nixon.
Right. So as we're getting to this point, where Newt's running for the first time for real, it's 1974. I said 71 earlier. And that was that was the year he was doing all that shit in West Georgia College. So this is 1974, and the Watergate scandal was dominating the news. And Newt didn't exactly advertise his love and admiration for Tricky Dick.
You don't say.
In fact, he capitalized on it and tried to tie his opponent to the broken corruption in Washington, even though he was in the opposite party. So, standing against the openly racist Dixiecrat, Newt scored the endorsement of the Atlanta Daily World, the oldest black newspaper in Georgia. Endorsed Newt. And stated he is, quote, a progressive in his views, and he is also fair-minded on racial issues, unquote. Flint slammed Newt with negative ads that left him so butthurt that he filed a complaint.
Ha ha.
Quote, And this is a direct violation of the Fair Campaign Practices Committee Code of Ethics, and I am filing a protest with them, asking them to come in and investigate his commercial and ask him to take the commercial off the air and to apologize for it, unquote.
What a bitch.
Yeah, no, you just want to give him a wedgie, you fucking
what
dork.
A fucking bitch.
And as far as I'm aware, nothing came of this complaint, you little bitch. The campaign didn't have much of a budget, so there were a lot of like DIY signs and volunteers donating their own materials. One story has Newt's team creating campaign materials by lantern light in an empty warehouse with no other power on. So 1974 was a hell of a year to run as a Republican.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
So it's likely Nixon stalled the beginning of Newt's political career. He lost, even if he made a decent showing against a longtime incumbent. Most younger, more progressive candidates ran as Democrats, which helped Newt stand out and make an early name for himself even if he didn't get the needed votes. So everybody took notice that Newt came out of nowhere and did okay.
Yeah, even as a Republican.
Yeah. Former Gingrich campaign treasurer Kip Carter had this to say.
You got to remember, we had a long-haired college professor. He wore glasses. His name was Newt. He was a Yankee. And he had no connections in the community at all. And to take a guy like that and to win 48% of the vote was pretty incredible.
So the loss was not unexpected, and he went in knowing that your first campaign is a harder sell, but he was, and Newt geared up for the next fight, heading up to Wisconsin in 1975, year I was born, to attend election campaign classes run by a conservative activist named Paul Weyrich, who a few years earlier had co-founded a think tank you might have heard of, the Heritage Foundation.
Oh, no.
Ding, 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 Project
assholes.
25.
They're the worst.
They gave us Obamacare, too, actually.
Yeah, well.
Which isn't great.
How's that going?
Exactly. Newt ended up dominating the discussions in this election class. So even though he's a student in the class, he's talking as much as the guy giving the lecture, and he impressed the hell out of Weyrich, who had this to say about this. Quote, I made a conscious effort to make Newt a star of the conservative movement. We had magazines, bulletins, and I got him featured on the cover of every one. No one had ever heard of him. I made an effort to be Newt's promoter, unquote.
Oh.
So again, he's like, this guy's got the juice.
Great.
They saw Newt's potential.
They saw what a potential fucking piece of shit he was. If you just hear me incoherently scream, just know it's because I no longer can articulate words for how much I think he sucks.
So Newt refined his message for the 1976 rematch against John Flint, speaking out against a proposal for national health insurance.
Of course.
Because, trust me, that's an old conversation that keeps coming up and being shot down like we're at a fucking skeet shooting range. And Newt also wanting the United States to take a hard line against the evil communists of the Soviet Union. You'll also love that he endorsed a states' rights approach to abortion. Because this is pre-Roe v. Wade.
Yeah, well,
And now we're post-Roe v. Wade, so there you go.
We live in hell.
Newt even got a bump from conservative hero and racist shithead Barry Goldwater. But still lost the race.
Yay.
Richard Nixon's shadow was still all over the Republican Party, and here in Georgia, a nuclear physicist and peanut farmer named Jimmy Carter won the hearts and minds of a nation and took the Democrats pretty well as far as Georgia goes.
Yeah, well, I like Jimmy Carter.
Me too.
He was a good dude.
Rest in peace.
It's like I want Georgia to remember Jimmy Carter. I would love it if Newt Gingrich could just die. He's old and he sucks.
Won't be long. All that said, our boy lost by less than a percentage point. So Newt smelled blood in the water and knew that his day was coming. So he got even close. He got within a hair, photo finish, close race. So Newt didn't slow down. He kept giving speeches and fundraising. He kept beating his drum about corruption in American politics, positioning himself as the ethical champion that the House of Representatives needed. Meanwhile, Old Man Flint wasn't crazy about his district, which was no longer exclusively a bunch of racist hicks, and decided not to run again. So suddenly, suddenly no more incumbency that he has to go up against. So this might shock you, but with all this focus on politics, Newt wasn't great at his day job.
Being a college professor?
Yeah. So while his lectures were popular, Newt never published his research and was regularly absent for campaigning. So he and West Georgia College parted ways.
Yeah, he was let go.
We decided to go in a different direction with somebody who's going to be here and care about this job and not using it as a stepping stone so he can be one day president of the United States.
Yeah.
But now Newt doesn't have a job. They live in a little house with shitty furniture and are now forced to rely exclusively on Jackie's paycheck as a public school teacher.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure that.
And guess what? Public school teachers
they don't make shit.
In Carrollton, Georgia in the early 1970s, and you're a woman.
Yeah, you don't make shit.
So, yeah, with 2 failed political campaigns and 1 ex-job, you can imagine their marriage was going just great.
Yeah, I mean, don't fuck kids. I'm glad, it's like, I'm sorry that their marriage didn't work out or whatever, but, fuck her. She seems just as terrible.
It wasn't a great, auspicious start when it's like, yeah, your student in your math class is your
high school
husband. It's icky.
It's icky.
So Newt needed to think outside the box, a phrase he loved using for his students back when he had those. In fact, he even did the stupid think outside the box thing with a piece of paper. I'll describe it in next episode, but it's one of those things he uses that tries to blow your mind until you realize how fucking trite and stupid it is. So any guesses how he could raise some money to keep his dreams alive? Car wash, bake sale, what do you think he's going to do?
Oh, God. Probably something fucking terrible.
So, after 2 promising campaigns, Newt approached a wealthy donor named Chester Roche.
He wanted to write a novel, and his idea was to write a novel based upon a possible land war with the Russians coming after NATO. And so it sounded good. 2 or 3 of us offered to help him financially with some seed money, and it ended up about 14 or 15 of us.
So Newt grabbed a check for $13,000 and took his family on a European vacation for research purposes.
Oh my God.
And Bambi, I'm terribly sorry to tell you that you will never get to read Newt's incredible masterpiece about the Soviet invasion because he never wrote it.
Yeah, that surprises me not at all.
Again, from his former campaign treasurer, Kip Carter.
I think the primary focus was to keep him alive till the next campaign. He is, I don't write well either, but he's not a good writer. Anybody that's ever read anything he has written knows he's not a good writer. I don't think there were any illusions that he was going to write the great American novel.
Even though, funny enough, Newt has now written a whole bunch of books, and a bunch of them are on our mom's shelf.
Oh, God.
However, the donors had set things up so that Newt was effectively a tax shelter, and he had the money he needed to keep his family going through the 1978 campaign. $13,000 was more than his salary had been at West Georgia College.
So he basically just took this guy's money and fucking
but they also knew the whole point of it was just because they wanted him to run because he was going to be in bed because these are all businessmen that he's going to be in bed with once he wins. So it was always just a fucking scam. But they were in on this scam.
Scammers be scamming.
Mm-hmm. The former professor also decided to hit up the Republican National Committee for money. He set up a meeting with the deputy chairman, a guy named Eddie Mahy, from Burning Down the House. Quote, when Mahy entered his office, he found Gingrich seated in front of his desk. Mahy peered through his Coke bottle glasses at the mysterious gentleman in the Madras jacket and polyester pants and thought, how did this dork get in here? Mm-hmm. Even though Mahy had a busy day ahead of him, he sat down and asked Gingrich what he wanted. Without missing a beat, Gingrich delivered a 3.5-minute monologue about how the Republicans could win in southern districts that had been solidly Democratic via the story of his own campaign. Mahy was hooked. Unquote. So once again, Gingrich storms into somebody's office and pulls his magic, just like he did when he was a kid and went into that city planner's office to talk about a fucking zoo.
Oh, God.
This is what he does, and he's really good at it. Gotta give him credit.
He's got the gift of gab. He's a salesman, really.
You gotta admire the hustle, if nothing else. And he walked away with $50,000 toward his campaign and a team of real election people with actual experience.
And there you go.
And you will love the name of his new political consultant, Bob Weed.
He doesn't deserve to have Bob Weed.
Light one up for Bob Weed, because Bob Weed gives us some juicy quotes later. Bob was probably the guy who got Newt to stop looking like shit, starting with dropping some lard and getting a damn haircut. From author Craig Shirley, quote, "The used car salesman ties, shirts, and suits had been banished, hopefully burned, and the long sideburns had been 86'd, along with the steel-rimmed glasses. He was now photographed in attire befitting a young politician on the go, red ties and solid blue, gray, or black suits," unquote.
Okay, yeah, so he
stopped looking... looked like a hippie college professor, but the nerdiest kind, with really thick glasses and the big bowl cut with the sideburns, like...
He's not even the cool college professor.
He looked like ass. I mean, not that Newt ever looked great, but at least he looked like a politician by the time, after Bob Weed got a hold of him.
Yeah, well,
Which is ironic, because Newt didn't actually like actual weed when he tried it.
That's because he's a person that needs control.
He also is deeply uncool and repelled by anything that might be. Fucking dork. So America in 1978 was a lot more receptive to conservative messaging. The economy was in the toilet, and America seemed on the downward slide, and President Carter was perceived as weak. So Newt went all in on the hip new conservative ideas, especially about the economy.
Oh, trickle-down economics? Is that where we're getting to, Jamie?
Damn, yes. Did you know that if you cut taxes for the rich, it will encourage investment and entrepreneurship? And that if there's some short-term budget deficits, it's all good, because the whole economy will grow and just automatically generate balanced budgets, even surpluses, and all of us are going to be rich. That's right. As you said, supply-side economics. Trickle-down economics as popularized by Ronald Reagan, the plan that George H.W. Bush called...
Anyone? Something DOO economics. Voodoo economics.
Like, even Bush knew that this was horse shit. Like, yeah, cut the source of revenue, but magically, revenue increases. Or you get in more and more debt, as we have now, to where just our interest payments alone that our grandchildren will be having to hustle for forever in the various mines working for the AI-powered robots.
At this point, maybe the robots need to be in charge. We have the dumbest people in charge.
Look, just because it's never worked in the last 50 years, it's just because we haven't given them enough tax cuts yet.
We've taxed them to zero.
We poors are too selfish to starve to death for the long-term economic gain. The Dow at one point was over 50,000, baby.
Not anymore.
That's for fucking sure. The rest of Newt's platform might sound familiar, including things like deregulating businesses, welfare reform, opposing the Equal Rights Amendment, which still has not been made into the Constitution to this day, because that's supposed to be equal rights for women. It's related to equal pay for equal work and all that shit.
Yeah. Still, we love to run on it. We don't want to fix it.
Still ain't a thing. Yeah, Newt wanted more funding for the military and continuing to shit on Jimmy Carter for giving away the Panama Canal, which both of us heard our dad ranting about.
Oh my God.
It's
the only reason I know about that fucking Panama Canal.
Long before Let's Go Brandon, there was bitching about Jimmy Carter giving away the Panama Canal. Imagine people having control over the waterway in their own country. So Newt went from having environmentalists volunteering in his first campaign to taking large donations from an oil company.
Yeah.
One that had a bad history of pollution, no less.
Yeah, no, because, they don't have conviction. They're pieces of shit.
So yeah, by the time his third, that's where he'd gone. He kept banging the drum about government corruption and proclaimed, Tip O'Neill's title should be changed from Speaker to Dictator of the House.
Oh my God.
Now, Bob Weed had a simple framing. This is a quote from Bob Weed. He had a simple framing for what could have been Newt's last shot at politics, running against a moderate Democrat named Virginia Shepherd. Quote, my take on it is we run this straight as a left-right race, and that we're the conservative, she's the liberal, and that's 90% of the race, unquote. Kind of like, now. So, and Newt was all in on the politics of fighting including and especially fighting dirty. In a speech to a group of college Republicans at the Atlanta airport, he told them to get nasty and not to be afraid to get in a slugfest, told them to raise hell all the time. Quote, I want you all to learn a lesson. When you see somebody doing something dumb, say it. You don't help your party any by sitting off to the side and saying, God, I wish you weren't so stupid. You weaken your party. And when you say it in the press. Say it loud. Fight, scrap, issue a press release. Go make a speech. Unquote.
So you're just, harassing people at airports?
Well, no, he was giving a speech. This was just the location of his speech to this group of young college students that were, it was like a political
Go forth and be shitty to one another.
He was already teaching young dudes how to be better little Republicans. So they attacked Shepard as a radical feminist who was willing to destroy her own family in pursuit of political power, all while framing Newt as a devoted husband and father and a church-going family man. Even his wife Jackie was reluctantly recruited to help write letters and talk to people while dealing with fucking uterine cancer. Does this give you flashbacks?
Oh my God. Fucking... Okay. Continue.
Lee Howell reported it this way.
I personally don't think that she wanted Newt to run a third time. I know that she probably wouldn't want to be involved in it. She just overcome her first cancer operation the summer before that campaign. But when he made the decision he was going to run, she threw herself into his campaign and worked as hard as she could. And wrote the famous letters of let our family represent your family in Washington.
Ugh. Yeah, because we couldn't possibly let a woman heal from cancer.
The campaign played up the contrast between the two families. Mother Jones reports on this campaign ad in an article that should have destroyed Newt's political ambitions all the way back in 1984. But Mother Jones wasn't super widely circulated, so nobody showed this absolutely devastating expose that this guy did. Quote, under the Shepard photo, the ad said, if elected, Virginia will move to Washington, but her children and husband will remain in Griffin. Under the Gingrich photo, when elected, Newt will keep his family together. Unquote. Gotta love a family man. So yeah, the whole thing was Shepard's husband owned a local business and their kids were already in school at a certain age, so she decided it'd be better for a family for them to stay behind, and then she would just commute back and forth and
lots of politicians do that.
But because this is the 1970s, and portraying a mother willing to abandon her children was a way to get in on a woman for daring to actually try to have a man's job.
Yeah, he's like, I'm going to drag my family with me.
So now let's talk about Newt as the family man, again from the same Mother Jones article. Quote, one former aide describes approaching a car with Gingrich's daughters in hand, only to find the candidate with a woman, her head buried in his lap. The aide quickly turned and led the girls away. Another former friend maintains that Gingrich repeatedly made sexual advances on her when her husband was out of town. On one occasion, he visited her under the guise of comforting her after the death of a relative and instead tried to seduce her. Unquote.
What a piece of shit.
So, wife's still recovering from cancer shit.
Yeah, and he's cheating on her.
He's giving blowjobs with his daughters just 100 yards away.
Yeah, because he's such a family man.
Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, attacking this woman because she simply was going to commute and let her husband keep their family business and keep their kids in the schools that they like.
Yeah, what a terrible, terrible woman. Can't let women,
And also made his wife write all kinds of letters to talk about what a great dude he was while he was doing all of this shit.
I don't like it.
I'm against it. So the campaign race-baited by portraying Shepard as being close to a controversial civil rights activist. They made fun of her weight, and at the end of the campaign, Newt falsely accused her of campaign finance violations.
Oh yeah, that doesn't sound familiar at all. What?
You get a little bit of a whiff of George Wallace off of all this.
What a fucking monster.
Newt won the election by 8 points. Not even close enough for a runoff. So suddenly Newt was a big deal in national politics because he flipped a long-held Democratic stronghold. The RNC appointed him to head a new task force, and as a junior House member, he arrived in Washington with 3 stated goals. Quote, defeat the Soviet Empire, replace the welfare state, and replace the Democrats as the majority party in the House. Unquote. The little guy with a big head was finally on his way. Kip Carter remembers how quickly Newt decided he had moved on from the people who supported and helped him. Quote, I was sort of chiding him about not staying in touch with the people, Carter says. He turned to me in my car and he looked at me and said, fuck you guys. I don't need you anymore. I've got the money from the political action committees. I've got the power of the office. And I've got the Atlanta news media here in the palm of my hand. I don't need any of you anymore. Unquote.
Oh my God, what a bitch.
Yeah. Such an asshole. I was like, yes. I know. Now that I've moved my up the ladder, I will simply step on your face. Fuck you. Thanks for all your help. Now, before we get into Newt heading north to take over Washington, D.C., let's take a moment to talk about the end of his first marriage. I know it's going to shock you. It didn't work out between the high school math teacher and her former student.
Oh, I'm shocked.
So, only 18 months after he put out an ad promising to keep his family together, he filed for divorce. By this point, Jackie had undergone cancer treatments, put up with Newt's multiple affairs, and still actively campaigned for her husband and presented him as this church-going family guy. But now this, from the PBS documentary, quote, Newt had won by shedding his old politics and his old profile. And many of his old friends, the reformers, the environmentalists, the liberals, would feel betrayed. And Jackie, the loyal political wife, would soon be discarded as well. A little more than a year later, Newt demanded a divorce. Now this is from Reverend Brantley Harwell, Gingrich's minister.
Jackie did not want the divorce. And was humiliated, bitter, angry.
Yeah, no shit.
Now this is Lee Howell.
She was in the hospital, and that Newt came to visit her, and that while he was visiting her, he pulled out his legal pad and wanted to talk about the divorce settlement.
As he was fixing to leave, the girls were there, he was fixing to leave, and asked her if they might discuss some of the division of the property and alimony and that kind of thing. And that's when she really got angry. And I can see Jackie getting angry. I can see any woman getting angry. She's already anguished enough.
Unquote.
Oh my God, he's such a piece of shit.
Yeah, he literally had come in there and had demands for what he wanted out of the divorce and wanted her to sign it on his legal pad while she was bedridden right after getting a tumor yanked out of her. Now, I will say this about this incident because this one became kind of an urban legend. And to this day, there are lots of stories about Newt serving Jackie with divorce papers on her deathbed. This story became so infamous that their daughter, Jackie Cushman, wrote a short article titled Setting the Record Straight in 2011 that pointed out that her mother was still alive at the time of that writing and that the divorce was already underway at the time of this infamous incident when Newt pulled out the legal pad.
So he couldn't even just wait for his wife to die. He had to humiliate.
To get out of the hospital.
He had to be shitty to her first.
Yeah, well, she didn't die for decades.
Oh, okay.
She, in fact, as you'll see, the article is clearly damage control for her father without resorting to lying, which is why it's short and sweet. But fuck Newt. Again, from the documentary. And this is Kip Carter, former treasurer, speaking.
Okay.
It wasn't long after that Jackie was supposed to be getting alimony and child support, and he refused to pay. And so Jackie and the kids were down there in that house with no food and, electricity and water and all that sort of stuff. So at the First Baptist Church and some other places in town, we took up money and we took up canned food and took it down to the house so that she could keep the lights on and keep the kids fed.
What a piece of shit.
Again, I don't need you anymore.
He's the worst fucking person. I mean,
Yeah, he did that to his daughter, and then decades later, she writes this article to try to soft pedal defend him.
Yeah, well, fuck you too then, but yeah.
Sorry. So, when asked by reporter David Osborne about his soulless hypocrisy, Newt's defense sounded like this, quote, I think there is a level of personal life that is personal. I had married my high school math teacher 2 days after I was 19. In some ways, it was a wonderful relationship, particularly in the early years. But we had gone through a series of problems, which I regard, I think legitimately, as private, but which were real. There is an 11-year history prior to my finally breaking down, and short of someone writing a psychological biography of me, I don't think it's relevant, unquote. So
it's his personal life isn't relevant because he's a man.
But that other lady's was 100%.
Yeah, everybody else is fucking fair game. Yeah, I see.
It's not fair to judge Newt for getting blown at all of his campaign rallies with his girls over being babysat by an aide.
Well, I mean, he just left him to starve. Fuck this guy. Fuck this guy so hard. For single mothers everywhere, fuck you.
Folks back in Carrollton, Georgia, were disgusted by Newt's 180 on being a family man.
Yeah, no shit.
Because he was getting a divorce right after he got elected. So, reporter Mary Kahn described him thusly, quote, Newt uses people and then discards them as useless. He's like a leech. He really is a man with no conscience. He just doesn't seem to care who he hurts or why, unquote.
Yeah, I agree.
That was 1984.
Oh.
But don't you worry about Newt getting lonely, though. 6 months after his divorce was final, he married a pretty 28-year-old blue-eyed brunette he'd met at a fundraiser in Ohio, Marianne Ginther. This is the woman I had pancakes with every Saturday for one fateful college semester.
Yeah.
And I can tell you this, her attitude toward him shifted from the beginning to the point where I met her.
I'm sure it did.
Burning Down the House describes their early relationship. Quote, Gingrich loved the fact that Marianne believed everything he said, finding his promises to remake American politics persuasive and exciting. Unquote.
Yeah, he was a real good liar.
Yeah, his first wife was older than him and probably is way less impressed with his bullshit, and now he wanted somebody who hung in his every word and thought he was, a genius.
Yeah, and again, that's probably why this is not going to work out.
What, you don't think this is true love number 2?
No. I think the only true love Newt Gingrich has is Newt Gingrich.
Oof. So, in one of just many, many acts of stunning hypocrisy, in 1983, the future speaker called for 2 members of Congress to be expelled for having affairs with House pages. When called out, he said this, quote, I would say to you unequivocally that it would probably sound pious and sanctimonious saying it. I am a sinner. I am a normal person. I am like everyone else I have ever met. One of the reasons I go to God is I ain't very good. I'm not perfect, unquote.
Oh, you're not perfect. It's cool when you do it, but it's totally not cool when somebody else
Other people should be fired for this sort of thing, but even though I'm literally doing it right around the corner right now all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, what a piece of shit.
So, Newt's personal life was a mess, and it seems that his rise to power did not make him one bit happier.
Good.
He gained weight, but then dieted because he knew it wasn't great to gain weight when you're a politician getting on TV. And he hated dieting, so he was in a bad mood. His early partners in political campaigns had been replaced by yes-men who hung on his every word and acted like every shallow catchphrase was written on granite by God himself. And he couldn't stand them. Losing his temper at them over and over again, and then writing apology notes, and then the whole thing happening again. President Ronald Reagan was riding a wave of popularity after a lunatic shot him for the love of Jodie Foster, and was able to push through huge tax cuts, the ones that Newt had been cheerleading for years. Newt celebrated when the president fired the striking air traffic controllers, which has never been a bad idea, has never caused us any problems ever.
Fucking hate it.
Like, we've never recovered from Reagan doing that, and now we're at crisis levels, where airports are literally shutting down because we don't have them.
Yep.
There was deregulation and more military spending, just one thing after another on Newt's dream checklist that would never, ever cause any problems for us or our country or the economy. Just nothing but wins up and from then all the way to now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
sure.
In the Wall Street Journal in 1981, Newt had made a prediction, quote, "We have the chance to bring about a half century of right-of-center government," unquote. And it pisses me off that he was right. I mean, that's exactly what we've had.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've now had, a good near fucking 50 years
and
of
it
this
sucks.
Shit. Where the best we get is some neoliberals just sort of doing a few things over here and over here.
a little nudge here, a little nudge there, because they're all fucking corporate goons.
Mm-hmm. When political consultant Mark Rosenberg asked him about his goals as a member of the House, Newt didn't talk about legislation or taxation or accomplishments he wants. He only said one thing. Quote, his immediate answer was his objective was to become Speaker of the House. Unquote. And with that goal, his North Star right there firmly on the horizon, that is all the Newt we have for today.
Oh, so I'm just going to be screaming into the void until next time.
Yeah, so tune in next time to find out about how Mr. Gingrich torched all the old standards and norms on Capitol Hill and created a precedent of using ethics investigations to destroy fellow politicians, something that would absolutely, deliciously bite him in the ass. And in between that, we had to hear a little bit about the college course I took that was all part of his downfall. So, thank you, everybody, for listening. And again, thank you to Kevin and Raven Sound Studios, even though you're currently under construction.
Yeah, I hope it's up and running soon. We miss you, Kevin.
Yep, see you soon there. Visit chainsawhistory.com to check out this and other things we do. Find out ways to support the show. If you listen to the Value Of series, you get to hear Bambi read cheesy 80s children's biographies to me. And if you listen to No Time for Love, Dr. Jones, you get to hear about the life of Indiana Jones and all of the historical people and stuff he bounced off of during the shows and movies and other media. We also have the back catalog, bonus articles, and more. Normally, we do a little charity round here, but I'm doing something a little differently today because we're going through some rough times as a country and as a world. So instead of giving out like a specific charity with a link like I usually do, I'm encouraging you just to go look at your local homeless shelters and food pantries and find out ways you can either help out with direct gifts or you can give some time and help out directly.
Yeah, I think the Never Alone Food Pantry is the one located in Cherokee County.
That's cool. There is more food and housing insecurity than we've seen in a long time, so we just need to watch each other's backs, and local is often the best way to help.
Yep. Hopefully, the world won't end.
But don't worry.
Before Newt can be finished.
Yeah. Next time you get to find out how Newt helped try to destroy the welfare state entirely.
Ah.
Bye.
Bye.